here I've highlighted a couple of bits, as you can see. I've highlighted this bit here about all these problems with determining happiness, the problems of using the mechanism of utilitarianism. So what we've ended up with, the problem with this theory, is that it does not sound much like an objective way of assessing right or wrong, merely a way of assessing its social acceptability, which is why Hare and others have sought to take into account both preferences and motives, i.e. when we look at trying to make an assessment, trying to use utilitarianism, actually we've got this idea of, well, it really comes down to what socially we find acceptable, and that doesn't really seem as a great way of determining whether something is right or wrong. Okay, next bit I've highlighted here is that utilitarianism depends on our ability to know what gives other people happiness, or what is for their general welfare. This is not always the case and may change from time to time. Also, utilitarianism does not seem to account for those situations where a person feels that there is something they should do, i.e. like a sense of duty or an obligation, irrespective of the consequences. And we've talked about prima facie duties before, haven't we? We've talked about duties that we see of first importance, and that would tie in really nicely with that. Mill accepted a notion of self-sacrifice, but he considered it wasted unless the sum of human happiness is increased as a result. So even if you give your life to kind of benefit the majority, if that goes wrong, actually he considers it wasted entirely. If you did increase the happiness, then obviously that would be a different matter. And what Thompson highlights, he says, but is there not a sense in which the act of trying to save the life of another human being, however unlikely it is to succeed, is in some way inherently good, i.e. your motive matters? That goodness does not adhere to an action, but is only given by setting that action in the context of the greatest happiness, the greatest number, obviously is a problem. Now, this next bit talks about the Azor argument. Now, to be honest, you don't need this, but all that it talks about is this idea that it's getting the idea of what is good doesn't mean that therefore it follows that we ought to do it. So just because something is good doesn't mean that we ought to then do it. They're two separate things, and there's a kind of jump that you make to go from one to another. And this is a criticism that's based, it's called, it's the Azor gap, and it's a problem that people have noticed happens in a lot of ethical theories, that the philosophers or the ethicists go from what is good or what is desirable, and then conclude that and start slipping into therefore we ought to do it. Okay. Now, here again is a great quote on that problem of objectivity that we've talked about before. We're supposed to be objective. We're not supposed to have preferences that kind of influence us, or our background's not supposed to influence us. So we're supposed to be objective. Bernard Williams argues that actually our moral identity is rooted in our personal commitments. So, in other words, the basis of morality is in personal values and projects. So it's what we stand for, those things that are influenced, they're not objective, like Mill would have us believe, or like Bentham would have us believe. So utilitarianism, because it requires an objective assessment of results in order to justify a moral decision, requires a person to set aside personal values and commitments and start again with each new decision. Now, it's questionable whether we can do that. So down the bottom here, in practice, one therefore has to ask if this is realistic, or indeed if it is the way in which people actually make moral decisions. So, i.e., we don't set aside our values, we don't set aside our personal commitments, and that's really what utilitarianism demands, and that's one of the criticisms we've talked about before. There's just some good scholarship to back that up. Now, the last part that I've kind of highlighted and gone through are these last little bits here. So we've come across Rawls before. He's mentioned imbalance Another line of criticism presented by John Rawls is that utilitarianism does not take seriously the distinction between persons. This approach considers the utilitarian arguments can too easily be used to justify an impersonal approach, so the rights of individuals are set aside for some greater good. And that's the idea of justice that we talked about with Rawls before when we looked at Bowie's extract. Great quote there that you can use. He's obviously paraphrasing Rawls, so just be careful to explain that Thompson sums that up. Now there's a last idea here which is really helpful. It's one that we've discussed before, and it's the problems of prediction. So a more general problem with any form of utilitarianism is the inability ever to achieve a definite assessment